to Tactical T-Rex. Thanks for coming to spend some time with me today. I hope you're ready for a big episode because today we're going to talk about looking for water and treating it to make sure it's safe. Come on in a little closer and we'll get started. All right, let's get started. Do you remember when we packed our survival kit, we put in 2 bottles of clean water? That's so that we'd have water right away. So I put the water in these bottles into my canteen, and everything that was left over, I drank. That way I'd start my water hunting expedition with a good drink already, and I would have the empty bottles to use for collection. Well, now that we got our collecting bottles, it's time to go find some water. And when we do find some water, we have to take a good hard look at it and ask ourselves, is the water clear, cloudy, or poison? You'll find clear water in fast-moving rivers and streams, like this one right here. Now, this water may look clean enough to drink, but I guarantee you it's not. Inside any water are small animals and plants that you can't even see without a microscope, and some of them can make us sick. Also, I want you to ask yourself, where do you think the fish, turtles, and frogs go to the toilet? Blah! The only way to make sure that water like this is safe is to boil it. Well, check this out. I got lucky. I found some clear water in a stream nearby, so all I'm going to have to do to make it safe is boil it. This is a really exciting time because this gives us a chance to really use our camp kitchen for the first time. Well, all right, I've got the stove that we made all fired up. Notice how I put some bricks on either side of it so it'll hold our pot. I took the water that I collected, I put it in our pot, and now I'll set it on to boil. All right, I jumped ahead a little bit because a watched pot never boils, and neither does a filmed one, apparently. Once I get this water to boil, I want to leave it boil for about 3 minutes. That'll make sure that the water is safe to drink. Once I'm finished, I'll take a rag or some kind of a towel to protect my hand because this can be very hot. I'll set the pot by, let the water cool, and now it's safe to put into our canteen. I should have mentioned before that the stove that we made is quite safe to use indoors, but you might want to be a little careful because it produces a good amount of soot and can stain curtains or walls. We'll usually find cloudy water in a slow-moving river or stream, or sometimes even a pond. It's cloudy because the water doesn't move fast enough, and there's all kinds of dirt and schmutz that are mixed up in it. To get that dirt and schmutz out of it, we're going to have to filter it. So come on in closer and I'll show you how to build a water filter that you can keep in your survival kit. So, are you ready to jump in and build our water filtration system for our survival kit? Well, let's get started. First thing we need to do is put together all the things that we need. I have 2 empty water bottles that I found around the house, the caps to those water bottles. I'm going to need an old t-shirt, a pair of scissors, and of course, our Swiss Army knife. Make sure you ask the adults in your life if you can cut up a t-shirt. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a hole in each of the caps. Make sure you get help from the adults in your life before you punch a hole into anything. I hollowed out the cap all around the rim, and then I glued the caps together, and I got something that looks just like this. Next, I'm going to use my Swiss Army knife to cut the bottom off one of the 2 bottles. Do you remember how to open the knife safely? Get your thumbnail in the notch, pull the knife all the way out until it locks, and we make sure that we keep our hands away from the cutty and the pokey parts. We'll turn the knife down, keep our hand away from the blade, and cut at an angle so the blade moves away from our body. Apply a little pressure on the end, and saw the bottom right off. It might stick at the end, but you can just pull it off. Make sure you remember to slap your Swiss Army knife on a sharpener right away. Plastic can dull a knife edge better than just about anything. Remember, a sharp knife is a safe knife. Remember to close the knife safely, just the way I've shown you. Next, use your scissors to cut 4 or 5 2-inch strips from the t-shirt. Do you know how much an inch is? An inch is about the width of your thumb. 2 inches is about the width of 2 thumbs. If you're a little T-Rex, yours might be a little thinner, but that's okay. Now we'll use our scissors to cut little notches all the way up. And once I get to the top, I'll start doing it on the other side again. When I get all done, what I want is something that looks just like this. This increases the surface area of the strips of t-shirt. That's a fancy way of saying it makes it like having more. Now let's put it all together. I've got the bottle that I cut the bottom off of. I've got the other empty bottle. I've got the 2 caps that I glued together. And I've got the cut up t-shirt strips. First we want to take the bottle that we didn't cut and screw the cap nice and tight. Then we want to take the bottle with the top cut off of it and screw it in just like that. Then we can take our cut up t-shirt and stuff it all the way down. All right, and when we're all done, we're going to have something that looks just like this. Now in this bottle, here's some cloudy water that I collected from a nearby stream. All right, now that we've let all the stuff settle to the bottom, we can just take the water on the top, pour it into the filter slowly, and let the filter material do what it does. Once the water's been filtered through, we can put it into our pot, boil it for 3 minutes, and then we can put it into our canteen. We can take the t-shirt strips that we use to filter the water, rinse them out, let them dry, and use it again. Now that we're all done filtering, we can put our t-shirt strips into this bottle. We can leave our double cap on one of the bottles and put them right into our survival kit. That way we have it when we need it the most. Also remember, put your Swiss Army knife in the outer pocket. That way you can find it when you need it. Sometimes water we find can be poison, but how do we know it's poison? Well, here's some things to look for. Do you see this rainbow on top of the water? That tells you that there's oil in that water, and filtering won't help very much, and neither will boiling. Some of the things to look for also are dead fish, like in this picture here. Sometimes the water smells bad, or sometimes you see the water near something like a factory or something that produces a lot of waste. It's best to leave sources of water like that alone altogether. The things that we're learning today help us make any water that we find as safe as we can get it in an emergency. We should never filter or boil water that we think is unsafe just to do it. Until the bad day happens, that water that comes out of your tap is the best thing for you. Having the tools that we need to make water safe is an important part of our survival kit. Something to remember. Bottles that we use to collect water should never be used to store water that we make safe. The best place to store water that you make safe is in your canteen. Only clean water should go into your canteen. Did you hear that? That was the eagle, and that means it's time to talk about great Americans. And our great American for today is Sergeant ICO. ICO joined the Army as a young man in the late 1800s, and he taught other soldiers Native American languages, customs, and methods of survival. He also worked very hard to keep the peace between Native Americans, white settlers of the region, and the Army. Later on in life, he would serve as an ambassador of his people in Washington. Here he is here with President Calvin Coolidge. ICO was a T-Rex because he served his country. He kept the peace and made a lot of people's lives better. So let's give ICO a great big T-Rex salute. Salute! Well, that's about the end of our time together today. I hope you had as much fun as I did. Remember, the things that we learned together could save your life or the life of someone that you care about. I also want you to remember that the Almighty loves all the little T-Rexes, and He wants you to survive so that your light doesn't go out of the world. That's especially important when things go bad, because that's when your light is needed the most. The Almighty also wants you to be safe, and so do I. That's why it's best, at least at first, to practice the things that we learn together with the adults in your life. You know, it's a great thing to go to your mom or your dad or your grandma or your grandpa and say, hey, come and get tactical with me.
It's a great way to spend some time together, and you can show them that anybody can be a tactical T-Rex. See you next time.
I will never be afraid again. I will keep on fighting till the end. I can walk on water, I can fly. I will keep on fighting till I die.
Tactical T-Rex is a Joel Hine production. Tactical T-Rex is not monetized in any way. Any products or businesses mentioned or shown are because Tactical T-Rex thinks it's cool and or uses it himself. If you do not want your children learning self-sufficiency in times of disaster, the undying love that the Almighty has for them, or how super cool it is to be an American, by all means don't let them watch it. You're the parents, you know best. Any negative comments will be ignored.